Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the situation after the EC decision as far as the PTI bat symbol is concerned. Legally speaking, what are the ramifications of this decision and what is the process that the party itself will have to follow to challenge the decision? Also, we'll be talking about the effects overall as far as other parties are concerned, and of course the reaction that has come from the other main political parties after this decision. What kind of an outcome can we expect in the scenario that there is a symbol retention allowed or if there isn't one? Both these scenarios we'll be talking about, all of that today on Perspective. I have with me Barrister Safiullah. Ghauri, thank you so much for being with us. We'll also be joined by other guests a little later on. Safiullah, we were talking about the decision of the ECP and also, its ramifications overall. What is in store for PTI now after this decision? Do they go to the High Court? How does it work?
Thank you. So, Mahrukh, they've already appealed to the Supreme Court on the matter. They feel like grave injustice has taken place. However, in my opinion, this is not such a big deal. If you remember, and I think all the audience would also remember, that PMLN had the symbol cycle. They did not follow electoral processes, and that was taken away and was replaced by lion. People's Party also had the previous symbol sword, which was then replaced by now arrow. So this is a fairly common thing when parties do not fulfill their obligations to election law. Now the judgment that has been given by the ECP is worth reading, because the PTI is portraying it as a very one-sided judgment, something that is targeting them as a form of political victimization. So I just sort of want to go over what the judgment is, why the judgment made this decision, and you would understand that it is in fact a very low-level penalty that has been given, just removal of an electoral symbol, and of course disqualification of the chairman of PTI, who is Barrister Ghauri, only recently appointed. Now the reason why this petition came about is because PTI members themselves went to the Election Commission, filed petitions saying that no elections were held. So they pointed to the fact that allegedly elections were held on the 10th of June 2023, but nobody saw anything. There was no advertisement, there were no nomination papers, there was no notification. Nobody was given a chance to contest these elections. That Imran Khan just came up before them without any other political person getting an opportunity. So the Election Commission said, all right, so if that's the case, then since there is no evidence that any elections were held, they said that we are going to take a very lenient view and we are going to allow you to carry out an elections because you do not have any evidence that elections were held. In fact, supposedly the election papers that were filed that showed that Imran Khan had been elected chairman in 2022 showed people who were not even members of the PTI who were convening such an election. So it was very funny when the whole thing was brought before the Election Commission. So the Election Commission said, fine, we'll give you an opportunity. Now, having taken the opportunity, they once again held what they are clearly sham elections. In these sham elections, the elections were conducted by the General Secretary Niazi, who was the General Secretary appointed by Umar Ayub, who held no position in the political party.
I want to come to that. I want to talk more about this, but you know what the PTI is saying? They're saying that it's about the fact that it's happened with other political parties also, and other political parties have done the same. To what extent do you credit this rhetoric?
I wouldn't know, because here's the problem. If there are other political parties, and which very well may be the case, I am not going to go out on a limb and defend other parties, but then their workers, their members have an opportunity to contest it before the Election Commission. They should also file petition, just like PTI members did, saying that they never got an opportunity. If somebody feels in PMLN that they wanted to become the chairman of PMLN and they do not get an opportunity, they should file a case. And I would be very, very happy to read that case. And if the Election Commission so decides that intra-party elections do not take place in PMLN or in People's Party or anywhere based on a petition, perfectly justifiable. But in this case, we have a PTI petition.
So it's actually come from the PTI itself.
Of course, this was a PTI demand.
Right. Let me go to Niaz Murtaza. Niaz Murtaza, in the light of what Barrister Safiullah is saying, what is your overall take on what's happened? The cries of level playing field are again being made as far as the PTI itself is concerned. But how do you look at this situation at this time?
Well, I think it's a bit unfortunate. I mean, of course, it's good to have internal democracy within parties. It's important, it's crucial. But then there is also the fact that there is very little internal democracy in all our major political parties, including PPP and PMLN, and their elections are also kind of staged. Now, of course, it would be nice to have a detailed analysis of what was so much worse in the elections that PTI held this time, that it was decided to cancel their election symbol. And Mr. Saifullah gave examples of other parties whose symbols were taken away, but from what I recollect, they were given alternative symbols, which meant that their candidates still contested elections from a party platform. From what I have read now, PTI people will not be able to run as party candidates but as independents, which means that after the elections they will be treated as independents and the loyalty clause will not apply. That's the more dangerous implication, not what happens on the election day, because I think PTI will still be able to find a way around that. In past, some parties used to be called Hakparas because they were not allowed to, contest as a party. That is not the main issue. The main issue is, since they will be independents, there will be no, restrictions on them from, going and joining other parties, even though they will win because of the PTI platform, and there'll be all kind of inducements offered, threats offered, given what we are already seeing even before the elections on how PTI people are being weaned away. So I see it as a very blatant form of rigging. Probably the worst attack on PTI beyond putting Imran Khan behind bars. I think this is the single most devastating step that has
let me come back to you on that. Ji, Barrister Safiullah, what is your take on what looking back at what Niaz is saying?
So I don't think there is any problem when it comes to them being granted another election symbol. They will be granted an election symbol in the next couple of days. That's just what the law is. At the moment, the PTI is blowing it out of proportion as always. They are making it look like they will not have an election symbol. That's not the case. They will have an election symbol. It's just that the election symbol they had is being taken away from them as a penalty. Once again, if you look at election laws and how election laws apply, some penalty needs to be given because they have committed some, and it's not devastating in the least, because here's what the problem is. We're making it look as if PTI had some democratic right and that democratic right is being taken away from them. That is not what's happening.
Okay, I want to talk more about this.
The people of Pakistan have a democratic right. Political parties are not companies that are owned by an individual. These are a collective aspiration of people. So if People's Party is a representation of a collective ideology, PMLN is a collective of ideology, so was PTI. PTI is just a collection of its worker. It is not his personal shareholding which he can decide on how he wants to decide. This is not the case. Pakistan is a democratic country. Democracies have certain rules and they have certain obligations and responsibilities.
Let me go to Barrister Babar S. Imran. Ji, Barrister Babar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mahrukh.
Ji, overall, do you agree with what Barrister Safiullah is saying? He's saying that this, as these political parties have to be treated as the right is of individuals, and this was on the behest of a political worker of the PTI itself. How would you look at that?
Well, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Mahrukh, I was talking about it a few days back on the TV as well. I think firstly I would agree with Barrister Saab to some extent, but I would disagree to some extent. Firstly, the Election Commission of Pakistan is basically there to conduct free and fair elections. And the whole purpose of the whole project is that on the 8th of February, there comes a new government and the whole atmosphere is of stability. Now, they have a loose grip towards the intra-party elections of a particular party because they have a much bigger stake. Their stake is that they should hold the elections. Now, intra-party elections within the party are, a relatively lower stake than the bigger elections. Now, one of the dissidents of PTI, he goes, and a few other petitioners, and they have several objections over the intra-party elections. And I was just going through the judgment, which is actually authored by Justice Ikramullah Khan, who was an ex-justice of Peshawar High Court, who's a very good judge. And he has written actually a judgment which is very clear, and he has given reasons very clearly for everything. And yes, the council that appeared, I believe Barrister Ghauri Khan, who now is the chairman of the party, he appeared and he actually accepted those irregularities. But then we have to understand that this party, the whole, Imran Khan himself and all of the bigwigs of the party, they are either behind bars, if they are going to the ROs to file their nomination papers, they are being arrested. They are being cornered to that extent that we have.
But that is irrelevant to the decision of the Election Commission on what's happened. I mean, that the retention of the symbol, the legality of it. And purely on the legal basis, if we leave the rhetoric aside, if we leave why is it happening to us, if we leave, this is victimization, if we leave that this is, no level playing field aside and look at it legally, can you as a lawyer justify, don't you agree with the decision as a lawyer purely on legal basis?
I do.
Okay, that's what I wanted to, that's what I wanted to come to. Safiullah, you heard what Barrister Babar is saying, and you said, I want to go into the decision a little bit more. Like you said, we've gone, you've had a chance to study it in some detail. As far as this, coupling it, like, we saw what happened in the earlier decision that came out 2 days ago from the Supreme Court on the level playing field. And again, we've had this conversation before, the celebration of decisions that are pro a certain party, and then the criticism of those on a very personal level of the judiciary that are not, is something that is, there's a precedence for it as far as this party is concerned.
No, it's absolutely tragic, the fact that this is what happens, this is how polarization works, and this is why all of us have a collective responsibility here right now. So one way of attacking this would be to say, oh yes, of course, we believe fully that this was the judges did not do their job, that they were acting in a malified manner, that they were trying to victimize a political party because and make circumstantial evidence because, oh, look at that case and look at that case, collect like 3-4 cases that suit you and then present your case to the public and then start berating all the judges. The other is to just look at the legality of everything that's happening. If the law is taking its course, why do people have objections? This is the law taking its course. If the PTI feels so strongly about them being victimized, then they should go spread awareness amongst other political parties, inform them what the rights of other workers are, tell them that they too should file similar cases, they should sensitize others so that a level playing field can be created. They cannot play the victim all the time, and that's what the problem is. I think, Mahrukh, now the problem is our political parties have decided, and it's really unfortunate what I've been witnessing these last couple of days, and I regret to say this, but I've been listening to speeches from all over the place, PTI, People's Party, PMLN, JYF. All of those speeches are absolutely bereft of any economic agenda, any social agenda. All of those speeches are self-centered, self-focused, talking about how they are the biggest victims of Pakistan.
When we talk about exactly that's what I want to come to, the victimization part of it. Dr. Niaz Murtaza, I don't want to, with due sensitivity to all that is being said, the question is that since this date was given out by the Election Commission, it's kind of uncanny when we look at the timeline that was given out. Since then, there is this trend, there is this commotion, there is this outcry in social media about nomination papers not being accepted, being the harassment, all of it. Isn't it a fact that the nomination papers of the main political leaders, the ones that they were saying they were going to file, have actually been filed? So I'm just saying that for there to be so much of I don't know if one can call it propaganda or not, but the question is how much of it is true, how much of it is not, how much of it contributes to the general polarization before the elections is also something to think about, no?
Well, I mean, if Barrister Safi is saying that they will be given another symbol, then of course the impact will be much less, because then it will mean that they'll be running as party candidates and they'll be bound by party discipline and the clauses about party loyalty. Now let's see whether that happens or not, because I've read a couple of other analysis which suggest that they may not be. But still, I mean, if this is the only punishment, then it seems a bit strange. Okay, if the party elections have not been held properly, what is the significance of not allotting it the symbol that it has always run on? You could impose a fine or whatever, or give it more time right after the election. As the other gentleman said, the issue of free and fair elections in Pakistan is a much bigger issue than the issue of free and fair.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Niaz sab. I don't know. I think there's a problem with audio. Let me. Ji, could you please explain again? I've lost you because of the audio.
I said, did you hear the part that if they are given up another party symbol, yes, then the impact will be lessened? But the issue is, then it seems like a strange punishment to give in terms of just taking away the symbol. And I don't think they could have imposed a fine. They could have given it more time right after the election. The biggest thing is having free and fair elections in Pakistan. And free and fair elections within a party is a smaller part of that. And if
do you think that now, in the kind of situation we've already seen, even with regard to acceptance of nomination papers, any verdict that comes in, that doesn't suit this particular, political party, invariably the result will be that they will come out and say that the elections have not been free and fair. So, I mean, we've seen that happen before also.
Once the dust settles, let's see how many of, their prime candidates, how many of their nomination papers are accepted if, 95, 99% of,
because
people.
As far as now the ROs from Lahore are concerned, let me go to Barrister Babar also on this. There's now a change of narrative as far as those same ROs are concerned, which were till yesterday, controversial or not being fair, and all of that was being said by the same political party. So, how much of it is true, how much of it is actually happening on ground, how much of it is a lot, of just hyperbole in social media is something that one has to think about. Isn't that true, Barrister Sahab, Barrister Babar?
Well, I think as far as the level playing field is concerned, I think it is now certain that the level playing field is not given. For that, they went to the Lahore High Court and they wanted to claim that please put in judicial officers as the ROs because the government is pushing us to one corner. And then that was taken by the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said no. All of the government officers or whatever they deem fit judicial officers, they can put them in place. But definitely, if there are, if you can just imagine that the political leaders of PTI are actually detained and arrested under maintenance of public order and not through FIR. That shows the context.
But Barrister Sahab, as far as them being retained, that is something that has been, this is not something that's happened now before, 3 days or 4 days or a month before the elections. We've seen, there are certain events that happened on May 9th, that resulted in consequences that we saw. And I don't want to go into the past, but my question is that a political party that is before the filing of nomination papers already saying that it's not fair, it's not, what's happening is not again the level playing field issue, all of that, is not going to accept any results other than the ones that suit them once the results of the election come in. Isn't that true?
Well, that happens in every election. Whenever a party loses an election, the Election Commission of Pakistan or the courts are, there are plethora of cases going in. It doesn't matter whether they accept it or not, or the only thing that will matter is that at least they should give them a level playing field till the 8th of February. And on the 8th of February, the mandate will come. As far as the symbol is concerned, I think personally the mandate that they have right now, even if they are not given the bat symbol, they are given for that matter any other symbol. They are actually.
But Barrister Sahab, do you think that there is if they are given, for example, eventually, if they are given the symbol of the bat, will there be a level playing field then?
I don't think it's only about the symbol of the bat. I think there are so many other factors that would make a level playing field. I think it's just a very small component of what it is.
Safiullah, isn't it true that there are a lot of incidents that do happen during elections and have happened to other political parties also? There hasn't been quite a similar cry of level playing field, isn't that true?
That's exactly. We've seen that every single elections that Pakistan has had, the losing party always says it's unfair. That goes without saying. But this is unprecedented. The kind of things we're seeing, we saw PTI cry on endlessly saying elections will not take place on the 8th of February. Endlessly they said elections will not take place. They came on TV, they said under no circumstances, we are under martial law, blah, blah, blah. Whatever they could come up with, eventually it was decided that elections are to be held. Now they're saying that their nomination papers are being snatched. Keep in mind,
nomination papers will be accepted also.
Now those have been accepted, so that's not a problem. It's the same political party that when an elevator got stuck said that there is an assassination attempt going on against them. It's the same leader who consistently said that he's being poisoned, that there is an assassination attempt against him, that he skipped more than 100 court hearings because he said that if he comes to court he'll be killed, and none of these things happened. So this is absolute paranoia, and the problem is that this paranoia is being fed by social media. Now this is just another one of those paranoid things. We have seen in the past other political parties lose their election symbols as well. It's not such a big deal. It is not an issue. Other political parties get assigned some other symbol. The reason why this happens is simply because I just heard Dr. Niaz Murtaza talk about how this was an irregularity, a minor offense. No, it was not. This has been a matter that has been going on since 2022. In 2022, their elections were declared illegal. They were given more than 1.5 years to fix their act. They did not. Time and again, the Election Commission kept serving them notices, kept telling them to carry on proper elections. They would always have fake elections under fake people, fake unelected people would come forward, carry out these closed door elections. Once again, I want to emphasize, what are we talking about? When we talk about free and fair playing field, for whom? Free and fair for Imran Khan or for the people of Pakistan? Because if Imran Khan is an individual, maybe he is not getting free and fair, but the people of Pakistan deserve free and fair elections. And for that, they deserve to elect Imran Khan to be the chairman of PTI.
They deserve to have a choice.
They deserve to have a choice. If the choice is being taken away from the people of Pakistan,
then it's
why should somebody else who does not deserve those election symbols be given those election symbols? Why should they be given the position of chairman or the general secretary of a political party when they have no stake in it? You can only have a stake in it if you have fought an election, and if you have come into the party yourself, then you can say, I have now won my intra-party elections as per section 215 of the Election Act, and as per article 9 of the PTI constitution, as per article 4 of the PTI constitution. The Election Commission judgment, by the way, very interestingly, does not mention a single law of the Election Commission. It mentions PTI's own laws. It mentions what promises PTI had made to its workers, to its voters, and how it had positioned itself as a democratic party, and how it completely lambasted them. So if PTI is not fulfilling its obligations to its own people, why should the Election Commission go out on a limb and give them extra rights and think that they are the true representation of people?
I think before I go to Dr. Niaz, I'll let Barrister Babar answer this. Barrister Sahab, could you answer this for me as far as...
I will definitely. I think there is no doubt that the hue and cry of PTI is unprecedented, but we have to understand that the way they have been pushed towards one corner is also unprecedented in Pakistan. I think there has been a synthesized whole an engineered thing which has taken them to this day. Now, going through all of that, being the largest political party of Pakistan, and denting them every now and then.
I don't think so. No. Barrister Sahab, I don't think they're the largest party.
I have to take exception to both the things that have been said. Firstly, when it comes to treatment, if you remember, after Safiullah Haq took over, Safiullah Haq and the Election Commission under Safiullah Haq actually banned People's Party as a political party. PTI is not even a banned political party. People's Party was banned. There were times when the entire PMLN during Musharraf's time, PMLN, there was not a single candidate who was in the field. PTI is being allowed to field candidates. To think that they are the biggest victim is an absolute mockery of Pakistan's history and past. That's the first thing. And the second aspect of them being the largest political party are just social media polls. I do believe that they have the largest social media presence. I would not contest that. But I mean, only elections can decide which the largest political party of Pakistan is. We can't just conjecture at this stage. There are certain polls that have been taken, Gallup polls, that some of them have been taken in different places. All of them have different assessments of what Pakistan's biggest political party is at the moment. But those are just exit polls. Exit polls have been historically shown to be very inaccurate.
So I'm just saying that there's no substantial, I mean, we don't know for a fact if they are the largest party. They are definitely a party, and they deserve to have the same rights that other political parties do, and the people of Pakistan deserve the right to choose whichever party they want to in terms of power. But not everything that is happening is about, targeting a particular political party also. I think those are things worth thinking about also. Not everything that is happening is about, for example, one of the statements, I'll go to Dr. Niaz on this. Niaz sahab, in court also, one of the statements that was given by one of the judges on, on the issue of level playing field, was that, when there are allegations, when there is evidence against certain politicians, whichever political party they're from, then the police has to go forward and take the law has to take its course. It's not about the fact that it's victimization. It's not about the fact. Then they can either say that, to keep the level playing field in mind, then the law should not take its course. So those two things really have to be balanced also.
Well, I mean, it's true that PTI has a history of crying wolf, and making all kind of false accusations of victimhood and so on. And I started coming on PTV World in 2014, right in the middle of the dharna, and I was a fierce critic of PTI at that time about all the rigging charges that it was making. And then throughout to 2018 to 2022, the different kind of charges and accusations it used to make. But today, if I look at, from the same angle, from the same, neutral point of view, I really can't say that, the charges, the accusations that PTI is raising today are also wrong. And, you can look at what the Supreme Court judges also said, especially Athar Minallah, that, there doesn't seem to be a level playing field.
Yes, we need to, in terms of already to say that, things are controversial before the elections have happened. Before any incident has happened on the polling day, before any of that has happened, is already making things look a certain way, for one political party to target things like this, when there are also courts that have given out judgments, like you yourself said, on adequate level playing field also. So to say that everything is painting everything black in this manner, which is what's happening, is something that has been wrong historically with this political party. And they have a history, and they do have a history of not accepting results also as far as the elections are concerned, and like Safiullah here also said earlier, it was about the fact that elections will not happen. The conspiracy theories, my only issue is that there are so many times that conspiracy theories have been given out, and then they don't hold merit at all, and they are built up in social media, and then they fall when that time goes away. But the question is that it has its own impact, right? We are also, let me go to Barrister Babar, looking at the Cypher case, for example. We are, that's also something that happened in this country. So accordingly, there are a number of conspiracies, are there not, Barrister Babar, that have also fallen flat in the past by the same political party?
Yes, I think that's true, and I think right now the judgment that has come, I think that should be taken to the Apex Court, and the Apex Court as a whole, in the larger picture, would look at whether the election symbol matter was so big that it has gone to this extent. As Barrister Saab said, that they will be allotted another symbol. I think at the moment this issue is not such a big issue that the 8th February elections will not be held, or they will not be on level playing field. All the parties at some point in time in history, they have been given different level playing fields, and right now I think probably PTI is on the receiving end. That's about it. But the 8th February elections will confirm as to who's got the most mandates.
Overall, even the way the situation is as far as the political party itself is concerned, and a situation, by the way, that other political parties have gone through with their leaders also being in jail and all of that, there is, Safiullah, the situation at this time is that the candidates are, the leadership is not there. So therefore, there is a natural lack of candidates, people who are, a lot of people after the May 9th have also, just renounced their part in this political party. That is also a reality. So they are in a difficult situation. So in that kind of a difficult situation, to already start crying that, it's not going to be, that things are not fair, perhaps is also building a narrative.
And is this not something that PTI has always done, is what my question is. Even the elections that they won, even before those elections, they were saying that these are not fair elections. Even then, they will continue to cry hoarse about how there's been a lot of rigging. This was all over social media. One thing that I think
in 2018, when Niaz Saab was in jail, PMLN contested its polls. It also won, I think, the highest number of seats in Punjab.
Yeah.
There was no, and their leaders went to jail. There was a lot of, it's not that they were, other leaders were also.
That's my problem. See, this is exactly what the issue is. The problem is, what is it that you can do that will eventually satisfy PTI, short of them winning directly?
But what was the narrative then by the PTI?
Yeah.
The
always
narrative
the
was let the law take its course.
Always the same thing. That's the problem. This is the issue. And what we are doing is, we are all feeding into this emotional loop that is being propagated. Like you said, conspiracy theories after conspiracy theories, assassination attempts, all sorts of strange things. Nothing. It always starts with a massive plot from the US, and it becomes geopolitical, and how Imran Khan is the only person who can save the entire Muslim Ummah, and it's amazing how they manage to sway the minds of the people using these strange, outlandish stories. And
build it on social media.
And the same judges right now, we have, a few judges are being quoted. Atar Minallah was being quoted. He was a very vilified judge just a few days ago.
It's about who's going to say that they're right. Supports them is right.
That time. But just a few days ago, Imran Khan said that he has no faith in his Islamabad High Court, and he doesn't want a single case of his to go to Justice Ahmed Farooq.
Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us, Barrister Safiullah Ghauri. Thank you for being with us, Barrister Babar S. Imran. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Niaz Murtaza. Thank you for being with us today. It's perhaps something to remember as far as the political parties are concerned, that for Pakistan as a whole to build narratives that fall flat on their faces, or to build narratives that perhaps to safeguard their positions, should not be the goal for any political party. The goal should at this time be to have a free and fair election, and then perhaps a peaceful transition into power towards Pakistan that can be rebuilt as far as economy is concerned, as far as reform is concerned, as far as that long-term agenda is concerned. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.